Ready when you are, Carla.
Yeah. Hunter, please.
Yep. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's Local Law 97 webinar for Houses of Worship. My name is Hunter Gross, and I'm a New York City Government Relations Manager for the Corporate Affairs team at National Grid, and I will be assisting in today's webinar. Before we begin, I would like to go over a couple of things. First, please keep your microphones muted throughout the webinar to help with the clarity and understanding of each presentation. And second, please utilize the chat feature in Teams or in WebEx to submit any questions you may have. We will have a Q&A session at the very end to address all of your inquiries. So with that, we have Vito Facella's office and the office of the Staten Island Borough President.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining in today's webinar. Borough President Facella is appreciative of the collaboration between his office, National Grid, the Mayor's Office of Faith-Based and Community Partnerships, and the NYC Accelerator to raise awareness of Local Law 97 and the impact it will have on your buildings. The New York City City Council passed Local Law 97 in 2019, which has impacts for buildings in excess of 25,000 square feet. The goal of this law is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in New York City, and building owners will be required to meet new energy efficiency standards and reporting requirements starting this year. The Mayor's Office of Faith-Based and Community Partnerships will share information on climate and environmental justice, with the goal for our faith-based communities to inspire change and mobilize members towards more sustainable practices such as energy efficiency upgrades or renewable energy establishment. National Grid is our utility partner and will share their priorities towards a clean energy future, along with energy efficiency programs to help you reduce your carbon footprint. The NYC Accelerator is an advisory program within the Mayor's Office of Climate and Environmental Justice. They will address what Local Law 97 means for our local houses of worship, what compliance and reporting requirements are required to reduce carbon footprints, and the upcoming site conditions that buildings must meet in order to avoid fines. They can assist with Local Law 97 implementation questions, financing options, site analysis, retrofit and new construction ideas, trainings, and contacts for accredited vendors. National Grid, the Mayor's Office of Faith-Based and Community Partnerships, and the NYC Accelerator are your partners in this initiative to provide support, resources, and guidance on Local Law 97 compliance. Thank you again for joining us today, and Borough President Facella appreciates your efforts to create a sustainable future for all of us in Staten Island.
Great, and we have Carla Hunter-Ramsey from National Grid.
Thank you so much. I wanted to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to our highly anticipated Local Law 97 webinar. I am absolutely thrilled to see such a diverse and engaged audience joining us today, representing both our esteemed internal team members and our valued faith-based external customers. As mentioned, I am Carla Hunter-Ramsey. I'll be speaking later on, but I did want to talk to those who are part of our faith-based community in our service territory, as this is very important to me because I am also an ordained reverend in the AME denomination. So I am honored to serve in this role and to help share in this important initiative. I also want to extend a warm welcome to our esteemed partners who have graciously joined us today. That is the Staten Island Borough President's Office, the Office of the Mayor of New York City Faith-Based and Community Partnerships, New York City Accelerator, the Archdiocese of New York. Your presence and collaboration are instrumental in making this webinar a success. I know together we're going to be united in this commitment to addressing the challenges and opportunities presented by the effects of climate change. National Grid has a plan to build a smarter, stronger, cleaner, and more equitable energy future. And we have energy efficiency programs that we'll talk to you about later to help you to reduce your carbon footprint. Throughout this webinar, you will hear an incredible lineup of speakers who will share their expertise, their insights, and experiences on various aspects of Local Law 97 and its role in the faith-based community. You also hear success stories and how it's being unfolded in the Energy Archdiocese of New York. I'm truly grateful to each of them for their valuable contributions and for joining us in this collective effort. So I encourage all participants, including our partners, to actively participate and ask questions throughout. You'll see a chat. You can drop your questions in the chat. We may be able to answer as we go along in the chat, but there will be a formal Q&A session at the end of the webinar. Your perspectives and your expertise are crucial in helping us advance our understanding and driving positive change. So once again, I want to extend my warmest welcomes to each and every one of you. And I want to thank you for being part of this important conversation and for your unwavering commitment to creating a sustainable future for the borough of Staten Island. Let's make this one of the most important webinars we embark on this journey of shared learning and collective action. Back to you, Hunter.
Thank you, Carla. And next up, we have greetings from the Office of the Mayor of New York City. We have Pastor Guilford Monrose, Executive Director, Office of Faith-Based and Community Partnerships, and Elijah Hutchinson, Executive Director of Office of Climate and Environmental Justice.
You feel deserted? I'm sorry.
Do we have Pastor Guilford Monrose on?
If he's not on, I'm happy to jump in.
Great.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. My name is Elijah Hutchinson. I'm the Executive Director of the Mayor's Office of Climate and Environmental Justice. And we are a new Mayor's Office that existed as part of this administration. Prior, we've had climate offices that were focused on resilience and sustainability, environmental remediation, lots of different topics. But for the first time, we've consolidated all of the offices that deal with environmental programming and policy into one umbrella. And within that climate office, we're now centering environmental justice. So what that means for us is making sure that communities that have experienced environmental burdens are able to experience the benefits of the clean energy transition, and that we focus on making sure communities are prepared with the resources that are necessary in order to engage in this transformation. And so I'm really thankful to having the team of people here that are on the call today, the Borough President's office, the National Grid, the Accelerator, and all of the partners and the faith-based organizations and getting us here today, because so much of what I realize I need to do is get the word out about Local Law 97, the resources that are available, and in particular, New York City Accelerator, which is the free resource that is available to anyone, whether you're a building owner, manager, whether you have questions, any kind of questions about retrofitting your building, installing solar, you can go to the NYC Accelerator, and that is a free resource for you to be able to try to map out what you can do to be in compliance. We are really interested in the compliance and not the fines. And so we want to make sure that we are providing you all, the team, and answering your questions to be in compliance and not have it be a situation where fines are being issued. Because ultimately we want the carbon. This is a climate effort, and we know that complying with this can be really challenging for building owners who or co-op or condo owners who maybe don't have the resources already to do a retrofit. This is another another mandate, if you will, to do retrofits in an energy efficient way. Already what we're seeing in terms of compliance is that the first compliance period started in January of 2024. Looking back since 2019, we've seen already properties are finding ways to do the work to be in compliance with the first period that goes until 2029. So that's really encouraging, but we always need to do more to make sure that there are additional resources available to property owners. But I want to place this conversation in a bigger context of the city's climate goals. This is an effort that affects all sectors and all industries. This isn't just the building industries that have climate objectives. We are tackling our transportation sector, for instance. So we're trying to halve our transportation emissions by 2030, which is just 5 or 6 years away. Which is why all of your Uber and Lyfts and ride shares will be electric or handicap accessible in the next coming years. We're looking at our food systems, we're looking at our waste systems, we're looking at our energy systems. And buildings is playing an important role because most of our emissions in New York City, 70% of them come from our old building stock. And so for New York City, we're not like the rest of the cities in the United States. If we don't tackle our inefficient buildings, 90% of which will be here in 2050, we do not have a climate strategy in New York City. And so it's really, really important that Local Law 97 is on the books and kind of leading the way for that transition. But we are doing this transition across all sectors to be entirely carbon neutral as a city of New York by 2050. What that includes is more near-term benchmarks like relying on 100% renewable energy by 2040. That's 100% renewable energy by 2040. These are really ambitious targets. We have these targets in place. My goal is to make sure that we're not leaving anybody behind and that we're giving the people the resources to be able to be a part of the transition. And so I'm super glad that we're here today to talk about those resources. And if anybody here has any questions, I won't be able to be on for the rest of the duration of the call, but the accelerator is here, the team is here. So anything that we can help with, or if you would like me to speak in any other place, I would just want to open up a line of communication and just thank you all for having me here today. So thank you for allowing me to introduce myself and to talk about the broader climate picture, and thanks to the team for getting into the details of how we can help.
Great. Thank you so much, Elijah. Next up, we have Carla Hunter-Ramsey, Director of External Affairs and Community Engagement for National Grid.
Thank you so much. As I looked at your photo, Elijah, I said, I have to update my photo. So I very much appreciate that little tickler that you gave me. But yes, I am Carla Hunter-Ramsey, and I am the Director of External Affairs and Community Engagement at National Grid, with a major focus of the work I do is with the faith-based community and being that liaison and advocate for our faith-based customers. So if you'll go to the next slide. What I want to make sure that you walk away with this brief overview of New York City. As your utility partner, I'm going to cover just some key things that I think you should know about our vision and our priorities as we work together to build a smarter, stronger, and cleaner, equitable energy future for our 4.2 million customers. When you think about it, we've got 1.7 million electric customers. We have 2.5 million gas customers. That's a lot of customers that National Grid has to think about as we look at how are we going to achieve our net zero greenhouse gas emissions. So if you go to the next slide, it's about looking at 6,000 megawatts of solar by 2025, 3,000 megawatts of energy storage by 2030. That's down at the bottom in blue. 1 to 2 million homes have heat pumps by 2030. 100% zero emissions in new vehicles by 2035, and 9,000 megawatts of wind by 2035. So we're on our way in getting to this journey, but it's going to take time. We understand that the current grid must be at least twice as large as it is today to accommodate this rising demand. That means that we got to really think about how we're upgrading our electric network at a significant pace and scale. And we cannot do this alone. We have to work together with our policymakers, with our customers, yourselves, and the community at large. It's about transforming our capabilities. This is how we're looking at the future and creating a network that is fundamentally stronger, and cleaner. So this future ties into what you heard a little earlier, and delivering 70% renewable energy by 2030 and 100% zero emissions electricity by 2040, enabling deployment of new electrified and use technologies and clean resources, and providing a more individualized, seamless, and improved experience for all of our customers. Next slide. So in order to do this, we had to develop our clean energy vision, and we're focusing on three major pillars. The first one is around affordability and customer choice. It is about reducing costs in order to make sure that no one is left behind in this clean energy transition. And we do that through our energy efficiency programs and demand response programs. We're looking at advancing our smart electrification so that we are working on delivering energy equitably where and when it's needed. And then the third pillar is around decarbonizing the energy system. So we'll look at our existing pipeline distribution network, and we're going to help to achieve climate goals while maintaining reliability. So we do this on the bedrock of our priorities. And the first priority is around accelerating our electric system modernization and expanding it to connect to our renewables and enabling electrification of transportation and heating. Our second priority is around expanding energy efficiency strategies and programs to increase customer adoption and help decarbonize all the homes and businesses. Third is about implementing new policies to decarbonize heat for buildings and industry and help enable innovative clean energy options to do that. And the fourth priority is ensuring that families and businesses can afford these energy bills and more easily access available energy savings and assistance program. Again, major focus around affordability. So with that, National Grid is your utility partner on this journey towards a smarter, stronger, cleaner, and more equitable energy future. Thank you. Back to you, Hunter.
Thank you, Carla. And next up, we have the New York City Accelerator, and they're going to talk about understanding Local Law 97 and financing options. We have Aisha Ali, the account manager, and Laura Purino, the account manager and finance specialist. So with that.
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you for joining us today and for inviting us to speak on Local Law 97 and Houses of Worship. Special shout out to Staten Island Borough President, National Grid, Mayor's Office of Climate, and also Mayor's Office of Faith-Based Organizations. Thank you so much for having us. So I'm here with my colleague Laura Perino today to discuss Local Law 97 and how exactly it affects houses of worship. Next slide, please. So to begin, let's first talk about what exactly NYC Accelerator is. So NYC Accelerator is a free New York City program to help control costs, meet compliance requirements for local laws, boost building performance, increase energy savings, all with the goal of reducing carbon emissions across New York City buildings. We offer free technical guidance, help identify any building upgrade projects. We also have a free training center for building operators, and we help connect you with service providers to implement decarbonization projects. On top of that, we help identify any financial incentives that you could take advantage of, and we have financing specialists on board. Next slide, please. So any building above 5,000 square feet is eligible. Smaller buildings are referred to partner organizations. To contact us, you can either call us or visit our website, and you'll be assigned a dedicated account manager. After that, you receive objective advice based off of your building's needs. There's also no catch, cost, commitment, or sign up of any kind. You can contact us as many times as you'd like. Next slide, please. So this is the typical customer experience. First, you would learn about the program like you're doing today through a webinar or maybe a flyer. And then after you contact us and get assigned an account manager, we can go through your building's needs. We can provide building assessment, and then based off of the pain points in your building, we decide on energy conservation measures. Next, we can get you in touch with service providers that can implement those measures, and then we stay in touch afterwards if you have any questions or concerns of any sort. So Local Law 97 is part of the Climate Mobilization Act, and the Climate Mobilization Act is the largest climate solution put forth by any city in the world. It consists of a slate of climate laws designed to dramatically reduce carbon emissions across New York City. And central to the Climate Mobilization Act is Local Law 97, which is the first of its kind legislation placing emissions limits on New York City's larger buildings. So here are a few local laws that you may or may not have heard of. Local Law 84 refers to benchmarking, which is the annual submission of your energy usage data using Energy Star Portfolio, and that applies to buildings that are over 25,000 square feet. Local Law 87 deals with energy audits and commissioning, which applies to buildings that are 50,000 square feet. And Local Law 88 applies to buildings that are over 25,000 square feet and deals with lighting and submetering. As I mentioned before, Local Law 97 is central to the Climate Mobilization Act and applies to buildings over 25,000 square feet. Next slide, please. So here's a quick overview of Local Law 97. So buildings over 25,000 square feet will be required to meet ambitious carbon reduction targets. The first carbon emissions limit is applied from 2024 to 2029, while the second carbon emissions limit will be applied from 2030 to 2034.
So fast. Yeah.
Hi, who's ever not speaking, can you please put yourself on mute? Because we can't hear the presenter. Thank you.
Under current existing conditions, properties are projected to meet 2020-2029 Local Law 7 limits, and 63% of the properties are projected to meet the 2030 to 2034 limits. So the goal is to get to net zero by 2050. As the years progress, the Local Law 97 limits become more stringent. Now, for houses of worship and affordable housing buildings, you have the option. So you get to choose how you'd like to comply. So you can either meet the Local Law 97's 2030 emissions limits within a defined time frame, or you can go the prescriptive pathway route, which is implementing prescriptive energy conservation measures. Next slide, please. So this is a resource that we use when we first get in contact with the building. It uses your benchmarking data to estimate any Local Law 97 penalties that you may have. So this is an example of Inwood Park Apartments. You can see that they have an estimated penalty of about $95,000 for 2024 to 2029, but this may be due to their fuel oil number 4 usage. We can also see, based off of their benchmarking data, how much electricity is used and natural gas. We can see, based off of the range as well, their estimated penalties for different ranges of time. So whether it be 2030 to 2034, 2035 plus, and it's helpful in seeing the categorization of the building as well as the square footage. Next slide, please. And here's a list of the prescriptive energy conservation measures that may be applicable to your house of worship. So some of these are general maintenance measures that you may already be doing for your building, like installing individual temperature controls, insulating all exposed piping, adjusting temperature set points for heat and hot water, repairing all heating system leaks, and maintaining the heating system. So it depends on which measures are applicable for your building. Those are the ones that you're responsible for, and a registered design professional can do a walkthrough to help you decide which ones are the best fit for your building as well. Next slide, please. So this is a very helpful, this is a very useful resource that Department of Buildings has released called the Article 321 Filing Guide. You can see based off of your heating system, it tells you which of the prescriptive energy conservation measures you would need to implement. So if you already have heat pumps, there are a few of the measures that you wouldn't have to implement. Whereas if you have a one-pipe steam system, then steam traps don't apply to you. So this is something that you can use when you're going through your building and debating whether or not you want to implement which energy conservation measures you have to implement. So here are some important local law deadlines to keep in mind. Local Law 33, if you're walking around the city, you may have seen the letter grades that are posted. So that refers to the letter grades that are released annually on October 1st and must be posted within 30 days. Local Law 84 deals with the benchmarking, and annual benchmarking reports must be submitted by May 1st of each year. Local Law 87 applies to buildings that are over 50,000 square feet, and it must be done every 10 years. So energy efficiency reports must be submitted once every 10 years. Local Law 88 deals with lighting and submetering, and the upgrades must be completed by January 1st, 2025, with an attestation letter certifying compliance due May 1st, 2025. And then we have Local Law 97, where the first compliance report is due May 1st, 2025, and annually on May 1st thereafter for most buildings. Now, I also wanted to make note that to be eligible for the prescriptive pathway, your building must be classified as 50% or more A-3 house of worship. And that's something that can be verified with a retro commissioning agent or a registered design professional, so a licensed architect or engineer. Next slide, please. And here are the penalties for each of the local laws for non-compliance. For Local Law 33, you would be fined annually of $1,250. For 84, you would be fined quarterly of $500. For Local Law 87, you would be fined annually of $3,000. And for Local Law 88, you could be fined annually of $1,500. Next slide. Now I'd like to introduce my colleague Laura Perino, who will be going over financing and incentives. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you again for inviting us to participate in the webinar. If you're working with an account manager or a consultant and you've decided on what measures you'd like to use to comply with Local Law 97, or even if you're interested in just reducing your energy use in the building and don't have to comply with Local Law 97, the New York City Accelerator can help you navigate those resources. Next slide, please. So in New York City, we actually have over 70 incentive programs, and there are 4 different categories of buildings, and some may apply to houses of worship and others don't. Those include the utility programs, and I'm not going to go into detail here because Louis Rizzo is going to be speaking with you about the National Grid program, in which you're part of the National Grid territory. And the state resources are also something you can take advantage of as a house of worship. They are run by the New York State Energy Research Development Authority, which is basically the energy agency of the state that runs these programs. For houses of worship, these include getting an energy audit. And there's a program that many of our houses of worship have taken advantage of. It's called the Green Jobs, Green New York program. That's an energy audit. It's not an ASHRAE level 2 or 3, which is a very, very comprehensive audit, but it's extremely useful in identifying what your energy use is and how to think about prioritizing energy upgrade projects. The Flex Tech program is another incentive program run by the state that is for energy audits at an ASHRAE level 2 or 3. And that's a very comprehensive report that can include electrification. And there are cost shares for the Flex Tech Assistance Program. And the Green Jobs, Green New York program is heavily incentivized. So it's directly related to the number of staff at the House of Worship. So very, very inexpensive and a wonderful tool. NYSERDA also has the Low Carbon Pathways program, and that's an option for you to reduce your carbon emissions by completing a certain number of measures. And the Clean Heat program is associated with heat pumps. And all of these programs, when you're working with incentive programs, there is a protocol involved for each one, so you have to follow those requirements very closely. Some of them need pre-inspection and approval letters in order to proceed, so please don't go ahead with your upgrade, complete it, and then contact these agencies. They may not be able to help you because it had already been completed. And the New York City Accelerator partners very closely with utilities and with NYSERDA to keep you updated on the latest changes. And oftentimes, incentive programs might have a limited time offer or a bonus or an adder, which means if you complete a certain number of measures and want to continue with others, you get additional incentives there. The incentives also, it's important to know they're measured differently depending on what they're for. Sometimes they're measured in the amount of energy that's saved by making the upgrade. Sometimes they're measured by foot and so on. So if you contact the accelerator, we'll look at your scope of work and we'll look for verifying your eligibility for those incentives that are applicable to those upgrades. Next slide, please. So we also offer financing assistance, and once you've defined the scope of work and you've decided on a course of action, and then also identify those incentives that are applicable, you can meet with the finance team and we'll review with you various different options based on your preferences. You may want to finance something in the long term and keep your reserves for other reasons. You may be interested in a loan program that has a lower interest rate, but you can pay back very quickly and so on. And we'll review what might work for you and whatever your specific financials are. And we're very well aware that houses of worship and nonprofits have varying different types of income. You may be renting a space, you may need to raise funds through a fundraising capital campaign and so on. And we'll work with you to try to identify some appropriate capital providers. We've got actually over 14 non-PACE capital providers and 14 PACE providers in our capital provider network. And we'll introduce you to them. And then we'll review any questions you have about their response, any term sheets and options that you have. And then we ask you to keep in touch after you've been approved for the loan. Next slide, please. So why would you finance an energy efficiency upgrade? Well, this is certainly a consideration, and it's very specific to the building and your finances. But one advantage of doing so is that it leaves your line of credit and your reserves for other purposes. For example, a health and safety measure or something that might break. And if you're stretching out the loan payments through a long term length, the payment might actually, if you're completing a significant upgrade, it might be less than your energy savings. And so we've seen that in some of our accounts. So it's something to consider as you're thinking about capital planning around Local Law 97 and other upgrades as well. Next slide, please. So one option that houses of worship have for financing upgrades, if you're doing significant work, is the New York City Accelerator PACE financing. And PACE is actually, it's a municipal financing tool. It's actually specified in Local Law 96, which was passed at the same time as Local Law 97. And it's repaid as a line item on a property tax bill. And so as a house of worship, you may not be used to having a property tax bill, but everyone who actually owns property has a property tax ID. And so you can take advantage of this financing option. This is for significant upgrade projects. So the minimum loan size is usually $500,000 to $1 million, but it can be brought out to a very long-term financing option. And it's basically based on the useful life of the equipment, right? So if it's something, significant, that equipment may last up to 20 or 30 years. So that's one option that you have available to you. If you've already completed a significant upgrade, PACE can retroactively finance improvements up to 3 years earlier. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Hello. If you could advance to the, thank you.
I don't know what happened there.
It's okay. But PACE is only one of our capital providers. As I mentioned, we actually have 14 non-PACE capital providers who are participating in our network. This is just a small sample of some of those options. The Habitat New York City Community Fund, which is a CDFI lender, that they tend to specialize in providing financing or for financially stressed and affordable housing projects. NYC is another option. We refer a lot of our accounts to NYC. That's the New York City Energy Efficiency Corporation. It acts very much like New York's Green Bank. It's another nonprofit lender. And they finance a variety of energy efficiency and clean energy projects with terms usually about 10 years, but they'll go up to 15 for certain projects. And NYC is a great option for many of these upgrades because this can also include a pre-development loan or something called a bridge loan. And a bridge loan essentially means that you're receiving a loan until you receive incentives, right, that are applied to that particular project. NYC will also consider lower rates for affordable housing and nonprofits. Another option is Inclusive Prosperity Capital, or IPC, another nonprofit lender. Important that they have an option that you can bring the terms out to 20 years. And they'll also allow you to include some health and safety measures up to 25% in that loan product. Verdant Capital is another, it's an equipment lender. They work with the utility programs to offer a subsidized rate. An important thing to note on this option is that the interest rate is directly related to the incentive that is applied to the project. These are shorter term loans up to 7 years. You'll see the interest rate increases, but for that loan product, these are target interest rates, so important to know. And then we have a turnkey full service agreement option with a number of lenders, including Noresco, Metris, and Renew Energy Partners, where they'll design, install, and maintain the equipment, and there's no upfront cost to the building owner. And what that is, it's a performance contract. And so what they're going to do is bill you monthly for installing and maintaining this service contract, but it's not a lien on the building. So it's another option to consider. Next slide, please. And so if you contact the New York City Accelerator, as Aisha said, we'll help you understand how compliance relates to your specific building. We'll work with all your building stakeholders to develop a plan and prioritize your energy conservation measures and corresponding incentive programs. And then if financing is needed, we'll meet with you to review those options. So don't hesitate to call us, and we appreciate our participation in this webinar. Louis Rizzo is next. Thank you.
Great. Thank you both so much. Yep. And so we have Lou Rizzo, Manager of Customer Energy and with National Grid Energy Efficiency Program. So Lou, it's all yours.
Great, thank you. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to go through a little bit about the National Grid commercial and multifamily programs. I'm going to touch on a lot of the key highlights. A lot of the information I'm going to be presented today is on our website. Also, too, you can, on our website also has all our contact information, get more information on any of the programs that we're going to be presenting today. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, the National Grid program, National Grid multifamily and commercial programs is open to from small commercial customers to large industrial organizations. On the multifamily end, it's open to 5 family units or greater. And these programs are eligible for all our customers that are existing gas heating customers, temperature controlled or interruptible customers, new construction, as well as all the gas conversions. Religious organizations, even though they're on a residential rate code, are eligible for our commercial energy efficiency program. So that's an important factor too, because even though you're on a special rate code, because National Grid about 100 years ago made a choice that religious organizations would pay a reduced rate to receive natural gas, and that's why you're on residential rate code. And because of that, but you're still eligible for all our commercial energy efficiency programs. So anything I'm going to be going over today, you're going to be eligible for these programs. Next slide, please. Great. Our programs are designed at a couple different tier levels that we currently have. We have custom programs where we provide incentives for customized type measures, meaning any kind of measures that we don't normally provide incentives on, which would be, let's say, an energy management system, boiler control, absorption chillers, boilers and sludge boilers, and so forth, where we screen the project. We have to pre-screen the project itself, and we can pay up to 70% of the incentive cost. Cap up to 70% incentive cost with a cap of a maximum incentive that we have applied. We also have a direct install program that's available for all our commercial customers too, which these are no cost measures that we go in. For our commercial customers, we put in free shower heads, aerators, in some cases, spray valves for kitchens and aerators in bathrooms. This is a great program to have. We also have a weatherization program where we have enhanced incentives for organization or facilities looking to do some wall insulation, some roof insulation, some pipes, replacement of windows, and so forth. So we have some enhanced incentives for what we classify as weatherization measures. Next slide, please. National Grid also offers a demand response program. So those customers that they're looking to participate in a load curtailment type program where they currently have the option to do dual fuel, but they burn natural gas. We give them the option to participate in our demand response program, where we pay the customers to remove from our system for a certain period of time during peak load hours, and we pay them a certain dollar amount. It's been a good program. We introduced this program about 3 years ago, and it's had some really great success for participants that participated in. For the large multifamily buildings, we also have an AMEET program, which is an income affordable housing program where we offer enhanced incentives, which are comprehensive and non-comprehensive programs for multifamily buildings. Next slide, please. Just to give you a little more example as far as what does our custom program entail, we generally pay incentives around $2 per therm saved, incentives up to 70% of the installed cost with the maximum cap of $150,000. And this is per project itself. Pre-screening is required, so we have to see the project before it starts, not after it's completed. We give an offer letter. So we screen it, we look at the project, we get some information from you on what you're putting in. We screen it and we give you an offer letter. The offer letter indicates what type of incentives we're going to be paying out for that specific measure that we're calculating having X amount of savings. And then once the project is complete, we'll issue that one-time payment. It's just a one-time payment. It's not a reoccurring payment at all. But this includes a gamut of different measures. When we're looking at custom, it can be, like I was indicating, combustion controls, boiler replacements, heat recovery systems, economizers, and so forth. Next slide, please. With our commercial direct install program, as I was indicating before, we've done this for a number of religious organizations. We've gone in, replaced their shower heads, spray valves, aerators. Some of them have some spray valves in their kitchens. So we've gone to replace those. We've done some pipe insulation, and in some cases, maybe replaced some Wi-Fi thermostats. This is a great service because it's no cost to you as an individual or as an organization, that is. It's a free measure, so we go in, we do quite a bit. And this really has helped to reduce your heat savings as well as your water savings within these measures that we install. Next slide, please. As I was indicating, the income affordable program has two paths that customers can choose. They can have a comprehensive path, which is a point system. You have to have 100 points and then you get $1 per dwelling unit that we incentivize for once you complete all those measures. Or if they're looking to do individual measures, if no one be a point system, we'll give incentives on those individual measures. So we give people multiple options of what they need to do, depending on whatever the type of building it is and the type of customer we currently have. Next slide, please. In our weatherization program, what I was indicating, we offer enhanced incentives. When I was indicating enhanced incentives, we give incentives of $17 per therm saved when we calculate the savings, and it'll be for windows, door replacements, air sealing, roof and wall arc insulation. So we do a number of different measures that combine underneath the weatherization. But it's really enhanced incentive. It's a great program right now. We're giving some really good money for buildings to get really insulated and maintain the building envelope. Next slide, please. I just wanted to give some success stories of different type of organizations that have participated within our programs and have really seen some really good success stories. We've had a Shiva in Brooklyn. We gave them one-time incentives. They did some a number of energy efficiency measures. We gave them an incentive around $7,700, and they show an annual savings of $453, which was a great win for them itself, and they're going to get an annual savings on those measures that they did. For the Episcopal Church in Queens, they did a boiler replacement, some controls, water heaters, pipe installation. So they did a number of different measures. Total incentives, we gave them about $156,000. They saved around 78,000 therms a year on their facility. So that means if you calculate that $1 per therm, roughly they're saving about $78,000 per year off their heating costs or their utility costs every year to maintain their property. In the Brooklyn Diocese, we've worked on a number of different projects with them, which include boiler insulation, pipe insulation, roof installations, window replacements, steam traps, and a number of other measures. Collectively together, we gave them incentives of $372,000. with an annual savings of 91,000 therms per year. So, these incentives can be very good. And I wanted to show these different examples to show, even from the smallest type of like a window replacement project to a large number of different measures, we offer different types of incentives for individual customers to help them to reduce some of the incremental cost when putting in more efficient type measures. We never cover 100% of the cost, but we do cover a percentage of the cost that helps them to make those measures go forward. Next slide. I think that was about it for me. So I try to make sure I cover everything as much as I can. We have some numbers here, so if you ever want to contact us, this information on who the sales rep is. Michael Harrison works with the healthcare with the Catholic organizations. He'll be one of the sales reps dedicated for the Catholic organizations. We have a direct install program. There's a number to call up to schedule an appointment with our vendor to come out to do the free measures. Or for the we also have a direct install program for the multifamily as well too. So there's some information, and also to our website at National Grid it's ngrid.com/EE to get information on our energy efficiency programs that are available in your area. So thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Lou. And next up, we have testimonial from Samuel Mann, who is the Associate Director of Energy at the Archdiocese of New York.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and many thanks for tuning in, and thank you to National Grid, Staten Island Borough President's Office, and the Mayor's offices for the invitation to share our experience today. With that, just want to, Hunter, can you jump into the first slide, please? Just want to give a quick overview. Again, next slide. Background around Archdiocese of New York, where we are, who we serve. So we serve over 2.5 million New Yorkers from the community of Staten Island all the way to Saugerties, encompassing nearly 300 parishes, 156 schools. And for those who are not familiar, we are in 3 of the 5 boroughs in Staten Island, Manhattan, the Bronx, and 7 counties to the north. Next slide, please. So, as Hunter mentioned, I'm Associate Director of Energy Management Department here at the Archdiocese of New York, and here are some initiatives that the Energy Department is undertaking, from anything from billing analyses to energy procurement, energy audits, local law compliance, what we're talking about today, which includes lighting retrofits, building envelope improvements, steam trap upgrades, fuel switching, electrification, solar PV, battery storage, and of course, staff training. And this is not an exhaustive list. This is just an example of some of the initiatives that we're currently helping our parishes accomplish. Next slide, please. So this is really the heart of the discussion today, and I want to share our experience, how we're approaching Local Law 97 compliance. Starting from the very top on the left-hand side, it starts with compiling a list of all the properties that we know that are above 25,000 square feet or are on a block that shares other buildings that exceed 50,000 square feet. Now, compiling a list is just the first step. You have to also check the Local Law 97 covered buildings list to make sure the buildings that you think should be on a list are in fact on it. And then the very next step is to make sure that your Local Law 84 data, I know we talked about it earlier today, benchmarking, making sure that information is accurate is paramount. You have to make sure that it's covering the buildings that you think are covered, and for all the properties that have to comply with 97, you have to ensure that your Local Law 84 data is accurate, is covering all the meters, all the fuel types, etc. So the next step is to identify worship facilities. Now, the city might have one idea what the building is, so you have to check the list. There's a separate list of a covered buildings list that has what the city believes are houses of worship, their Article 321 list. So you check that to make sure that the buildings that are churches are recognized as such by the city. Then the next step here, part B of the second box, is whether or not to do the 13 prescriptive measures or to comply through A320, which is the emissions limits, through the performance method. So that's a question for you, and your consultant for the NYC Accelerator, who, by the way, has been extremely helpful for our path to compliance, not just by breaking down Local Law 97 requirements, rules, regulations, providing that guidance, but also helping us evaluate our portfolio for solar feasibility, that solar PV generation feasibility, and financing and different alternative financing methods as well. So really appreciative of that partnership there. So what the third step here is calculating the emissions limits based on property use types. So we know it's a church or it's a school, maybe it's a rectory or a convent. You have to multiply that floor area by the emissions factor. So that's provided by the city. It's in the rules. You multiply that and, you come up with the limit. You also have to take into consideration whether you're using the Department of Buildings building code or the Energy Star Portfolio Manager coefficient. That's a nuance that I can explain later, but essentially you have the option for the first 2 compliance years. So when we file next year, next May, you can choose the building code or the Portfolio Manager emissions factor. For what we found for our churches and our schools, it's beneficial to choose the DOB building code. So for the next step, step 4, again, benchmarking data, making sure that's accurate, and then you have to multiply it. Then you know, based on that information, you know what the actual performance is. So the previous step, you come up with the limit, and then step number 4, you're comparing that to the actual performance over, from before pandemic ideally to now, so you can have a better picture overall of what that building looks like when it's fully occupied. Now, step number 5 is calculating potential fines. So if you find that that property is underneath that emissions limit, whatever compliance period we're talking about, you don't have to do anything. That's great. But if that performance actually exceeds the emissions limit, that's when you'll have to multiply per ton by $268, and that is your potential fine. And that's a really important number because that's going to help you arrive at which path you're going to take to compliance, how far you are away from that limit. Maybe there's a way to get there, with some other measures besides really intensive capital upgrades. And that final bullet here is, so you find that your property is above the limit. By how much is the question, and then also how are we going to address that over whatever time you have? Do you have till 2030? Do you have till 2035? Develop those carbon reduction plans, identify funding, and then begin implementing them. I know that sounds really simple, easier said than done, but that's essentially in a nutshell the process, the order of operations of how we're going about complying with Local 97, the right way. Next slide, please. So this is in partnership. This is a slide about how one of the initiatives that we're undertaking, which is the building envelope scanning, and we've partnered with NYU Tisch of School of Engineering to do these roof evaluations. And this is a next generation approach using drones outfitted with LiDAR and infrared camera technology and roof robotics. Essentially, these little rovers that scan the rooftop, looking at the conditions, whether there's water pooling, whether there's any kind of weaknesses in the flashing, any kind of general deterioration that you can address. This is a fantastic method to get a good comprehensive scan of the building envelope, so you know where to concentrate when you need to make some, whether it's adding insulation or making some repairs. Next slide, please. And finally, this is another slide. This is in partnership with NYSERDA. We mentioned before how important they are in terms of, all this climate action that we are undertaking. This is a staff training initiative that we are doing with NYSERDA, as well as some local partners. And this is, in essence, to train up our staff across many, many parishes and community members who are interested in learning about energy efficiency, how they can help improve operations at the church, in their homes, and all of this is in support of Pope Francis's Laudato Si, which is on care for our common home here on the right-hand side of the screen. So there's a lot happening in New York City. We're proud to support it. We're trying to do things the right way, and we know we can't do it alone. So we really do rely on our partners at the state level, at the city, at the New York City Accelerator program. So really appreciative of all of their help, and I'm happy to share experience. So please do feel free to reach out, ask any questions at the Q&A portion. And yeah, I am here to assist. So thank you all. With that, pass it back to you, Hunter. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And next up, we just have a Q&A. So if there are any questions in the chat, we have some. Let's see.
If all of the speakers could come back on camera, I did see a couple of questions in the chat.
Yep. So the first one was from, okay, this is, okay, I guess they deleted it from Mary Clark.
Got a Modulux boiler? You see that?
Yep, we have a Module X boiler with 8 chambers that fire up as needed, as the indoor thermostat that is required tells the boiler when it has reached the desired temp. We have sensors on our first floor radiant heating. We have zone valves in the rooms which have end switches, which all come back to our boiler to run our pumps, and our boiler does not maintain heat. The entire boiler does not fire up, being we have elderly here on different floors. We can't have a few rooms dictate what the other rooms do. So I would like to know, if this is mandated, what incentives is National Grid giving towards the installation of indoor thermostats, such as Con Ed is giving for upgrading to LED lighting? Not looking for loans to cover a mandate by the city, but looking for rebates and incentives to bring the cost down from our vendor.
So it depends on the thermostats. We have incentive for regular thermostats if that's what you're looking for, but I believe if you have modulating boiler, you're looking for more of a better type of control system, because if you have a lot of cold and hot zones, there's probably something else going on other than a thermostat issue. And I think that they may need to get some additional looked at, because it could be maybe some cleaning that needs the system. There could be a couple of different factors that are impacting yours. We can offer incentives depending on the equipment that you're replacing, and everything that's available on our website that shows the different incentive amounts depending on what you're doing. Also, but if it's custom, then we screen it to see what the savings are, and we give an offer letter of what that amount is. So I don't have a straight answer if it's just a thermostat. If it's just a thermostat, then I'll probably give like $50. However, in this case, it looks like there's more going on than just a thermostat. It's other issues. And I think maybe just have a mechanical contract look at the system and seeing where the issues are, because you may need some additional upgrades or cleaning or repairs that may need to be done with this unit.
I can add to, thank you so much, Louis. I can add to that as well. So it would be important for a design professional to take a look at your building and understand exactly what kind of heating system it is, what the opportunities there are to increase efficiency. Oftentimes, it's not the boiler itself that has to be replaced, but there's a number of other measures, as you know. You can have that design professional assess how they're applicable to Local Law 97, Article 321, because it's the applicable measures of the 13 to your specific heating system. So somebody would have to verify that. And then in terms of lighting incentives, yes, there are lighting incentives for the bulbs themselves, both indoor and outdoor, for controls and for the ballast and so on. So those are something that if you contact us, we'll work with you and we can identify your eligibility for those incentives along with National Grid.
Okay, just to follow up, Mary, she said they already have, and they're shocked that this is a mandate in the request. That would be the mandate to install indoor thermostats. Is that the boiler is so efficient, and by the way, this is Presentation Sisters in Staten Island. Boiler is so efficient that the contractor is shocked you requested an indoor thermostat.
So again, without being on site at the building, we don't make site visits. We have a registered design professional who identifies the measures that are applicable to your specific building. And then we can help you with options to identify incentives for those. The applicable measures, we don't know without actually going on site and verifying that.
Okay. Mary, is there anything else you'd like to follow up with?
Can I just add one thing to that too? So is Mary is indicating that her boiler is now required outdoor thermostat? So she's saying an outdoor reset control. That's New York City Department of Building Code, because if you're replacing the boiler and upgrading it, you have to have a boiler control that has an outdoor reset option in it. So it's not that it's code, it's New York City code, building code, that requires that of boilers. So I just want to make sure we're not getting the thing a little mixed up.
No, she said they have an outdoor thermostat and you're requesting an indoor thermostat.
Yeah, we don't request indoor. We don't from a utility point of view, we don't request it, but it's if you have some kind of controls inside the building, I guess without seeing the actual project, it's very challenging to make comments on it.
Sure. Well said, Counselor. We have another question from Lindsay Martinez, who has started the Local Law 97 process for the International Christian Center by obtaining a consultant approved by the Accelerator. However, he was asking to still contact a rep from Con Ed to obtain any additional information on energy efficiency programs. Who would be the best point person at Con Ed for Lindsay?
Aisha, is this one of your accounts? Yeah, we can contact Con Ed about eligibility for a specific incentive, but we can provide that information if you contact us to get in touch with their team that deals with nonprofits. I don't know if you're more familiar, Aisha, you want to comment further on that?
No, I would say the same thing. If anything, you can reach out to us, and then if there's maybe like a specific program that you want more information on, then we can send it to you or get you in contact with the representative.
Correct, but is there also a contact at Con Ed for Lindsay?
I think it depends on what exactly, like the specific energy efficiency program that they would, yeah.
Lindsay,
Yeah, each program has a different set of contact information for it, and it's the same thing with NYSERDA, the state program. If you're interested in solar and you want to take advantage of those resources, it's going to be a different set of folks than the efficiency or for low carbon capital or the Green Jobs, Green New York energy audit.
Lindsay, there's a slide at the end of the presentation that has contact information for folks. You'll be able to see that then. Take a camera snap of. Carla asked, have fines been determined for non-compliance for Local Law 97?
Do you want to take that one, Aisha, or do you want me to? I think you had a slide up, but did your slide include Local Law 97?
So for Local Law 97, it depends if you're above your emissions limit or which pathway you're taking as well. But if you don't choose a pathway or you don't submit a building's emissions report, that would be a fine of $10,000 for each. So $20,000 altogether.
Is that what you needed, Carla?
Yes. Thank you.
Very good. Arnold asked if the PowerPoint presentation can be emailed.
Yes, it will be shared.
Can I just make an additional comment? We didn't really touch upon this, but houses of worship for the very first time can take advantage of a tax incentive for solar. And so if you're investigating a solar project for your property, traditionally you haven't been able to take advantage of tax incentives, right? And that the IRA funds, the Infrastructure Act, that's a federal program, has created something new, and it's called direct pay. And what that means is that, and if you contact us, there's a process to take advantage of it, and we'll review that with you, but you can actually receive a tax incentive once solar has been installed. So we're tracking the IRA funds and these incentive programs closely. So you do have that opportunity. The utility programs and state programs are independent of an actual tax incentive. And also, if you are interested in solar, I don't think the services quite include all of what Sam Mann was describing in his slides for determining solar on their rooftop. But we do offer a free solar feasibility study. And so what that means is that for absolutely no cost, you have an opportunity to understand if solar is a good candidate for your building, or if is there too much shading, and then right sizing a system, your options for community solar or solar that is supplied to your specific building, and then what the payback period is, and an outline of all of the incentives, including those tax incentives. So that's a service. You just have to contact us and we'll put you in touch with our partner, Solar One, that you can receive. And it's great data analysis. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we provide information and connection to all of these resources, but there's absolutely no obligation to act on any of the information. So if you request a solar feasibility study or you're getting information about efficiency incentives or so on, it's up to you to make the decision to go forward with any upgrade that you choose. Thank you.
Great, Laura, thanks. There was also a question with your list of vetted contractors. Do you also have some reputable solar companies in that list?
Yeah, I can take that since we were just speaking about that. Yeah, so we have a service provider list, as Aisha had mentioned. If you're interested in proceeding with an upgrade, we can recommend companies that do similar work for the size buildings and the size project that you're interested in. And this is on our website, and an important component of that is that the contractors have been vetted to become part of our system, and they can be on the website. You can actually search to see if they're participating in an incentive program. And some of those incentive programs require that they be a participating provider. So that's an important distinction to be made for some of these service providers. And if you, yes, if you proceed with a solar feasibility study, we can also give you some recommended installers as well.
That's great, Laura. Thank you. Are there any more questions from the group or in the chat that anyone would like to ask? Going once, going twice. All right. Carla, any final thoughts from the group?
Yes, I think we're at the end of the webinar. So if you would, Hunter, take us to the next slide.
No.
And while he's doing that,
Do you see that slide?
not yet, still on Q&A.
It says resource page. See the resource page here.
Brooke, do you still see Q&A?
Yeah, still the cool blue question mark Q&A.
Interesting. On mine, I see the resource page. Hold on one sec.
Sure deal.
Do you see that?
Can I share your screen?
Yeah, just that
Yep,
share your
it's-
screen.
Yep, I'm sharing, and it says resource page. I don't know why I
We're
can
not
see
seeing
it.
it yet. I think it's still going through the upload process. Like a slow internet connection you have. That's what's just impacting it.
Yeah, maybe I can share my screen. Let's see. See if this will share. Okay, so I'm gonna click, then I'm gonna share onto. All right, does
Okay.
everyone see? Do
Yep.
you see the resource page? Okay, so what you see here, and you're going to get a copy of this webinar. It was a question also asked in the chat. Did my page stop? Do you no longer see my screen?
No, we see you.
Okay, it's interesting. I'm glad we got to this stage of the webinar before. All right, let's try it again. All right, how's that? Do you see it now? Resource page?
Yep. I
Oh,
see it.
Yes, we
beautiful.
do.
Oh, okay. So feel free to take a screenshot of this if you will, but we will be sending this out to you along with the audio for the webinar. The questions that were asked in the chat, really great questions. Hopefully you'll be able to follow up with one. I think Lorenzo, you certainly did well answering one, and then we had New York City Accelerator coming through and asking a couple of others. You have a great resource in Samuel Mann and the work that he's been able to work to get done and accomplished. So please reach out and ask questions. I love that one slide, and it's a very thoughtful, intentional approach that they've taken, going step by step on how they're looking at their buildings and looking to make sure that they're helping to reduce greenhouse gases from their buildings by taking advantage of these programs. So you've got a wealth of resources here. I know we're going to close out because if it wasn't for the Staten Island Borough President, his office and team, we wouldn't really be able to do as well as we've been able to do because they have been fantastic in putting this WebEx together so that it can be hosted through their office. So if you go to the next date, please. Oh, I'm the next page. Sorry, I'm sharing. Oh, let's see if I can go to the next page. So as you should see on this page, the Staten Island Borough President Vito Valesa saying thank you very much for joining us today and appreciating all interest and efforts to create a more sustainable future for all of us on Staten Island. And I'm very appreciative of Staten Island President Vito Valesa working with the team, allowing Sia, allowing Brooke Nord and others to be able to work with us. So these are the partners that came together to put together this webinar: National Grid, New York City Accelerator, the Office of the Faith-Based and Community Partnerships in the City of New York, and of course the Staten Island Borough President's Office. We thank you so much, and we have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.